All right, everybody, what's up? We are here for the second episode of the now BTW podcast Beers, Toys, and Wrestling. I'm Nate Gleason. I'm here joined by Lance Johnson and Dustin Hayward.
Yo,
Say what's up, guys.
Not too much.
Yeah,
How, Dustin? I know because I talk to Nate all the time, obviously. But how are you guys holding up? Are you guys fine? Do you have toilet paper for the next 3 years for the whole family?
no, I got regular amount of toilet paper
All right.
and a regular amount of hand soap and shit because I'm not a disgusting human. It's cool. Like I wash my hands anyway.
And you know what? This kind of segues into a topic that I never thought that would branch into this podcast at all. But it really is kind of affecting all three categories of this podcast, and
Absolutely.
that is
Say its name.
COV. Say again.
You can't say its name on YouTube, apparently.
Well,
Watch.
you can't say the popular name or the actual name.
Any of them.
Okay. Well, we can't.
We can't say the. What do we? Let's see. What do we want to call this? I think we can call it the viral outbreak. I guess you could call it. You could call it. Let's see. What else? The happening. We'll just go with the happening.
The Happening.
Right?
Yes.
That was a horrible
Yes,
movie
because that movie was fantastic.
Exactly.
So we'll call it The Happening, and everyone knows what's going on here. So it has, it's affected. I guess you could say it's affected two branches more than the other.
Yeah.
But there's definitely some. It's definitely affecting all three in some degree. So, just to clarify real quick, like I said, we are now the Beers, Toys, and Wrestling podcast. We decided that we all have an affinity for toys enough that it really did warrant going outside of just bots. So, so that's how it is from now on. So like always, we'll start from the beginning. And how do we want to approach this week? Do we want to talk about stuff like news and things that we got this week?
I mean, we can do that. I think we kind of established a format last time where we kind of went in order. So why don't we, before we jump into like things that we got and news about the other two, because I feel like the beer, you don't get a lot of beer news. So why don't we start off with what are we drinking?
That is yes. So I'll start. So tonight I am having a lovely fruited pilsner from Foundation Brewery up in Maine called Guava That's My Jam.
Nice.
And it is it's a very light pilsner, obviously very heavy on the guava flavors, and I just I've been drinking more this week than I usually have, so I needed something nice and light.
I think we all have to a certain extent, or I know at least I have too.
Yeah.
Tonight I went real simple tonight because I don't have to obviously work tomorrow. My place of work has decided that all of its employees should prepare to work from home for the next month and then completely shut its doors as of COB yesterday. Not that there is any sign of the happening in my workplace. Um, just the abundance of caution. Um, so tonight I'm doing a mixed drink. I started with some Coke Zero, and then I put a little Jim Beam bourbon in it.
Okay.
Ooh.
All right. All right. Yeah, I tell you what, and you turned me on, turned me back. Well, you always turn me on,
I
but
always turn you on, my
uh,
friend.
but you've turned me back on a little bit to the Jim Beam, especially when like you just need to get the job done quick, dirty, and as a mixer, it's really not bad.
No, I think it's probably one of this, depending on which one you get, because they have a number of different ones now, right? You've got
Mm,
your regular Jim Beam, then you've got the Jim Beam bourbon, which is the white labeled one, if I remember correctly. That's what I got because you
mhm.
have Jim Beam whiskey, then Jim Beam bourbon, then you have Jim Beam Devil's Cut. So if you really, I think we usually when you come over, the reason that the job gets done so quickly is because I believe we're using, or I'm generally using Devil's Cut when you come over. And it's got a little bit more of an ABV, like we
Mhm.
talked about first episode. Sometimes,
Yep.
you just don't want to remember that pay-per-view. Um, so tonight I went a little bit lighter. I did also get a bottle of Town Branch too, which is my drink of choice
Mm.
generally when I do bourbon. But yeah, tonight I'm starting out with this, and we'll kind of see where the night takes us.
Exactly. I may be mixing myself up another drink here halfway through.
Right on.
Uh, but and we'll broach that when I get to it. Not if, when. Um, okay, Dustin, give us the rundown. What are you sipping on?
Well, haven't had shit for time to go to the store and buy anything new, so I'm still over here killing younglings like Anakin.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that. Out of the major big breweries, if we're talking about Budweiser, Coors, all that stuff. Yinling is probably one of my favorites.
Yeah, it's
It's
fantastic.
really good.
Other than that, I got about a half a fifth of Jim Bean honey.
There you go. That's
There you
good.
go. Yeah.
Getting into some of that tonight, but my work ain't shutting down for nothing.
Now, everybody's different, right? Like
I
mine
work in the restaurant business.
primarily an office environment, so they're just like the place is a damn petri dish on a regular day.
Right.
Um, and they want to make sure everybody's okay. And over the last decade, they've been moving towards uh, not necessarily a work from home model per se, but they've been moving towards the ability to have that happen when they need to. Um, so this is
It's
just
good.
yeah, this is just them having been ahead of the curve and preparing,
Right.
which is great. I just found out school for the next couple of days for my son is canceled, so now I don't have to worry about what happens to him during the day, like because I can't bring him into the office every day. But if
Right.
I'm home and I'm downstairs, he can just go ahead and do whatever, and as long as he doesn't burn the house down with me in it, I call that a success.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, I think everything's different. It's just I think, like I said, they did a good job in preparing and being ahead of the curve on this one. So
Yeah.
I give them credit. I can't mention their name due
Yeah.
to um, what is it now? It's FINRA. It used to be the SEC. Now it's FINRA. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so I give them credit. It's not often that you're like, oh, work, you did a good job with something. Usually, like, you're more like, oh, work, you suck. But in this case, we're gonna give them credit. They did a good job.
Well, I for sure like I work in the restaurant business, man. So like, I got to go to work.
Yeah, you guys. Yeah,
Like I'm in that same boat as doctors and nurses and shit. I guess like people got to eat, and not everybody can get to the grocery store. So,
if anything, your work is almost more important now than ever because
absolutely.
People are exactly as you just said. People gotta eat, and with shortages in the grocery stores, at least around me, everything's been picked over. People are gonna want to not think about it and just go out to eat.
right. Or like at our store we offer DoorDash and shit. So
There you
like
go.
people order it from their home, So
I'm so jealous of areas that have DoorDash just in general. Like, because where I am, Nate, I don't think it's probably not the same for you. You probably have somebody closer that does that, but like where I am, um, they're not in our area. They don't have any plans to expand to our area, so it's just like I still have to go out. But then again, that's not a bad thing, especially if I'm gonna be cooped up for a month. Like today, my wife was really, really tired. And so she spent most of the day in bed, and I'm sitting here with cabin fever because like I want to get out. And it's been approximately 1 day, because we closed everything on Friday and whatnot. So, it's I think once we get into the wrestling part of it, I think I'll talk a little bit more about it. But I think it's just interesting to see how people rather, and how society in general is adapting to what's going on.
Yeah. Yep. And like I said, I never thought this would be part of our podcast, but I'll tell you what, it's just is such a big thing right now that it's hard to avoid. Now, sticking on the beer portion of this, there is a little news, and that regards to the festival coming up in May. I got an email last night. Actually, I got a notification from Facebook first, and then I got the email. But this beer bacon festival in New Hampshire, the ticket sales have been postponed until April.
Well, the Boston one got moved, right? Because they have a Boston one as well.
Yeah, but that's the bourbon beer festival, right? Or the bourbon bacon festival, rather.
I could be wrong. I thought it was the same thing. I thought it was the same people doing the same thing, just in a different area.
No, it's a completely different one. This one is specifically the the bacon and beer festival. Yes, the beer and bacon festival is completely different from that, and basically what they said is, sorry, I got distracted for 1 sec. I got a notification last night on Facebook that they are putting aside, they are moving the ticket sales into April. And then I got the email because I had signed up for an early ticket sale code that it would the general can't talk today. The general public sales are put off a month. The pre-code sales are put off 3 weeks. So I'm almost slightly hopeful that they feel like this situation is going to be somewhat rectified by next month, uh, but we shall see. Um, Now, all the other breweries that I follow on Instagram and stuff like that, everyone's open and cranking for business. And similar to what we were talking about you in the restaurant industry, Dustin. That you know, people want to drink right now.
Yeah, or just like, I mean, people can only stay cooped up in their house so long.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I've seen it like when we get, like blizzards and shit here, like a restaurant will be slow for 3, 4, 5 days. And then all of a sudden, as soon as the sun shines a little bit, fucking everybody's out of their house. So,
Yeah.
nobody's going to stay home for 2 weeks straight. Like or if they
No.
do, it's going to be a huge boom to the economy in 2 weeks.
Yeah. And I don't know. So how are you guys? And this is maybe getting a little off topic, but there's really no definitive place to put this. In either of in any of our categories. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm still shaking hands. I'm still doing all of that. I mean, I don't care. Are you guys on the more germophobic side, or are you just living life?
I'm just living life.
Yeah.
But from being like, I've worked in, like I said, I've worked in the restaurant industry, but I've worked in that industry for like 16 years.
So you're
So
probably washing your hands all the time anyway.
yeah, washing my hands is a normal thing. Like when everybody's freaking out about soap and sanitizer, I'm like, I have that shit at my house because that's what it's my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just normal to me. Uh, so yeah, I don't care. I'm good, man. I don't really get sick often either at all. Or if I do, it's only very slightly. I mean, that could be ignorant of me because this could be a bigger thing, but yeah, I don't want to live in fear. I figure if I get it, I get it. And if it's my time to go, it's my time to go, man. Fuck it. I'm not going to live in fear over it.
Exactly. Lance, how about you?
Yeah, I don't know that I'm don't I'm not doing anything different other than obviously like we talked about work. Um, I'm still going about being me and I pay attention to whatever the CDC recommendations are. Like I didn't stock up on certain supplies because I thought, the world was going to end. Like
Mm.
I know I was talking with my wife and one of her friends had posted on Facebook that they were at Target or our local Target at like 10 a.m. And she was like, "Get down here now. Target is unloading a truck of toilet paper." And I was just like, I hope I'm never in a position where that excites me. Um, I'm just, it's one of those things. You just kind of gotta just pay attention to what's going on, or I'm just paying attention to what's going on. I'm not trying to overreact. I'm not trying to underreact. I'm just trying to stay educated and make the best decision for me and my family.
Yeah, that's all you can really do, man. That and, grab like 3 seashells from the store next time you're there.
Yeah, probably.
All right. So I guess that's kind of the beer portion of all this. Again, nothing really too groundbreaking on that front for this week. One thing I can add to this, and again, it's only because I follow a lot of breweries around me on Instagram. That everyone's starting to roll out their late spring, early summer beers, and which is very nice because again, it's a lot of those lighter things that can be fun. Um, I know Pipe Dream just rolled out I think they rolled out their boysenberry again, and they rolled out another fruit thing again, and I can't remember exactly what it is.
Hmm.
But all I know is it looks fantastic.
Well, I did check out that brewtodO.com thing, and that's very interesting. I think I'll have some new breweries to talk about soon.
Good. I'm glad you checked that out because, as I said last week, sometimes you will find something that you didn't realize that was super close to you,
Yeah, there's a
and
ton.
yeah, and that's what I love about this whole craft beer movement that's going on right now. It's just everybody and their mom is firing something up, and yeah, it's a ton of new things. I would have never discovered some of the stuff near me if it hadn't been for that site.
I appreciate that, man. That was very cool.
Yeah,
I've definitely have some fun stuff to do this summer. As soon as Apocalypse is over, of course.
definitely. And Lance, there's still a couple of small craft places in Concord that we should definitely check out at some point. And with the warmer weather coming, um, damn if that's not an excuse to just hang out before Baby Johnson gets here.
No, I absolutely agree. I know that driving around downtown Concord, like there's what did I just have earlier this week? It was Concord Brewing Company, I think it was.
That's one of the ones I was thinking of.
Yeah, they have one called the Governor,
Hmm.
uh, and I had that after we recorded last week, but before we recorded this week, so it's been gone for a minute. But that wasn't too bad. That was pretty good. But yeah, there are definitely a bunch of places around that we should get out and take a look at. Um, yeah,
Definitely. And
yeah,
um
definitely.
and there's you know speaking of which, this just kind of came to mind. Another thing we could add into this segment here is throughout the week. Has anybody had something interesting throughout the week that they would want to talk about?
I have
Uh,
not. It was a light week for me, so.
Fair enough.
I had Conquer Craft Brewing's The Governor. I absolutely forget what it was. The can. I just s- some things like I guess I take better notes in general on and like stick out more. I just remember enjoying it at this point. And then I have Founders Breakfast Stout,
Yep.
which is really, really good, but it's really heavy.
Yeah.
So I
Is
had a
it?
couple of those. I had a couple of those, and I like that was for me anyway. That was a super, super heavy beer or
Hmm.
stout.
And is that different from the one that we talked about last week? The Founder's Maple
Yeah,
Stout. Okay.
it is different. This one doesn't have as much in terms of maple flavor. Um, and it's a thicker bread stout. Uh,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it's only a 12-ounce bottle because I that's what Founders does.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a very very heavy beer, at least for me. Um, I'm not a fan of stuff that's super heavy. A little bit heavy here and there, I don't mind, but this
Exactly. Yeah.
really heavy.
I
Uh,
don't I don't want to like and I've run into guys who like this. Like, there are some people who I've talked to who say, like, they want to feel like they've had a meal after a beer,
yeah,
That's a good for you.
and I don't like that at all. Like, I don't mind, like, as we've discussed multiple times. I don't mind the higher ABV stuff, but I don't want to get a stomach ache after drinking a beer either.
yeah, I'm very much the same way. I used to call Guinness a meal in a bottle. and I used to love to drink Guinness, and I still do like to drink Guinness, but this stuff was this stuff made Guinness feel like a Coors Light. It's that heavy.
Yeah,
So
don't like
if
that at all.
yeah, if I do one later tonight, it'll be like one.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, I don't know that I'm quite gonna go there again. Flavor is really good. It's just so heavy.
Yeah.
And other than that, or other than those two things, I like the Governor because it was a bit lighter. Um, but other than those two things on the beer front, I haven't had anything else at all this week.
So on the founders bit, like I don't know if you guys have them up there, but down here, one of our grocery stores was carrying Founders brand beer brats.
I just saw those today.
Yeah,
good. Like they're stupid good.
yeah, they are. I had them. When did I got them at some point this summer for just because once the summer comes around,
Right.
I don't cook inside like everything.
Exactly.
Like,
For real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
as Nate can fully attest because he's been here many a night. So we found those this summer, I think it was, and oh god, super super good. I love
It's
them.
some of the best brats I've ever had. I was like, holy crap.
Now I saw them, but I haven't tried them yet. So do you get any either hoppiness or maltiness from them? Like do you?
Out of the all day IPA ones, yes, like there is a little hoppy aftertaste.
Okay.
It was nice. I had that one and what was it, like Solid Gold, I think. That had a little bit of the kind of a crisp,
Okay.
crispiness you get, and then there was one other one we had that was all right, but those two were the standout.
So what I haven't talked about on here yet is I have a bunch of friends who work at a local bar that I like to hit up. It's the joint is called the Copper Door. It's right here in Salem, New Hampshire, and I've made very good friends with a bunch of the people there. And the cool thing is that a couple of them are huge into mixology, which has become a slight hobby of mine, just because it's so fascinating. I've gotten a few books on it, um, and it's fun. It's fun to play around with. So I want to talk a minute for a drink that I had this week, which is very, very interesting. Um, it is a twist on the Bolividier, which I don't know if any of you guys know what that is. That is it's essentially a Negroni with whiskey instead of rum. Um, but this one was interesting. This is from a book called Death and Company that the guys from the bar in New York wrote. So what this drink is it's 100 proof rye, bourbon, tawny port, sweet vermouth, Campari, and white creme de cocoa. And I'll tell you, it was dangerously smooth.
Nice.
Everything balances out really great. The especially the Campari. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've become a huge fan of Campari over the past couple of months. It's kind of got that sweet forward and then that really bitter aftertaste, and it just works very well.
Nice. So, do you like? I've been a little interested in this the mixology stuff too. Have you ever watched the guy How to Drink on YouTube?
I am subscribed to him. I watch everything he does.
That dude, I love that dude. Like I was like every drink he makes, I'm like, man, I'd drink the hell out of that right now.
Greg is his name, and
Yeah,
he's so much fun to watch, especially because he does the whole pop culture theme to a lot of his cocktails.
yeah, definitely. He hooked me with I think the first episode I watched was Butterbeer from Harry Potter. So I was like, I'm fucking
Yes.
making that next Christmas. That's happening.
Yes. Yep. I loved how he made some Fallout based cocktails.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, for
in
sure.
fact, I made one of his ones that he did the Skyrim episode that he did.
Oh yeah, okay.
Let me see if I can find that real quick. That the recipe that I saved. Now it was kind of a cinnamon heavy cocktail. But the one thing I loved about it is that it used nope, that's not it. Um, oh, we're close. We're so another one that he did that here we are. It's called the Cliff Racer.
Yeah.
Um, and apparently, I guess Skyrim fans will get that reference. I did not. Um, but here's what it is: it's cognac, Ancho Reyes chili liqueur, and Benedictine.
Mm.
And Benedictine is one of those ingredients that I absolutely love using now. It's another one of those herbal liqueurs um, yeah, that a bunch of different roots and shit that you've never heard of. Um, and it just so it's cinnamon syrup, Benedictine, the Antares liqueur, cognac, and you throw it over a big rock of ice in a rocks glass, and it's amazing. And I got that from his channel.
Yeah. And that motherfucker always has the best ice too. That dude's ice is incredible.
It's more work than I'm willing to put in.
I
Uh,
know. It's same, but that shit is grand.
oh, it is. It is the way he does it, and I've tried cracking those big blocks of ice, and it's not. He, it's not as easy as he makes it look.
Right.
Uh, anything you want to add to the mixed drink realm, Lance?
Not really. Usually my mixed drinks, I don't like. I'm not into mixology. Nate, you know this. I'm just a very heavy pourer. Uh,
Yes. Oh, yes, I know.
yeah. So I may get into it at some point. I just don't have the bandwidth for that right now.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I enjoy a good drink. I know. Um, when you come up, when's the next time you're coming up? Probably WrestleMania, assuming that it's happening. Which
If WrestleMania is still
again,
happening, and
we'll
that,
get to later.
yeah,
But if you end up coming up, we'll whatever you want to make, I will happily imbibe.
and that's what it's all about, imbibing. All right. So on that note, this is a good time to transfer over to our second segment here, which is the toys. Um, so who wants to start this one off?
But I'll start off. Um, so I didn't get anything. Well, I did technically get something new this week. Um, but it's not gonna stay as is. Um, I sometimes tend to customize things,
Mm,
and I'm kind of getting back into. I had done some stuff early, then I got out of it, and now, given what's going on, I was like, I'm gonna have some free time, so might as well get back into it. Um, so I got a one of the 6-inch Fortnite figures, and I forget the name of the one that I got, but it's the guy that it was one of the ultimate ones where it shows you at like level 1, and then you clip the armor on, and it's at max level.
Mm.
It's the one that kind of looks like when he's at the max level, he's got kind of like that Cylon face,
Yeah.
and he's all black, or mostly black, gunmetal gray, and stuff like that. And I got that figure because like I said, I'm getting back into customizing. So this week I just finished up, um, or rather, finally painted a figure that I had been planning for quite some time. It was I don't know if you guys have read the book series Percy Jackson. Um, it's technically a kid series. The reason I got it, actually, there were a couple of reasons I got it. One, I'm a huge fan of Greek mythology in general, and that deals heavily with Greek, Roman, and then it also goes into Norse and Egyptian mythology as well. And then my son also reads it, so it's kind of one of those things that I'm big into sharing experiences as much as I can.
Mm.
So what I did is I had the Boss Fight Studios Vitruvian Hacks Vandar, and then their Roman armor set that I had gotten a while back. And so I used those two things to come up with a mashup of kind of a post, oddly enough, so post-apocalyptic, or rather what it would be considered in that series, Ragnarok, because it would probably be the Norse one. So it's a post-Ragnarok take on Percy Jackson. So I customized that this week, and then I got the 6-inch Fortnite figure that I'm going to customize into the bad guy from the first set of Percy Jackson books, because in that, the author Rick Riordan, or he's got 3 book series now that deal with Percy Jackson in some way, or primarily Greek and Roman mythology. Then he's got one for the North, one book series for the Norse mythology, and one book series for the Egyptian mythology. So the primary antagonist from the first series of books is the Greek Titan Cronus, because it's kind of like an updated version on Greek mythology. So first you had the um, first war with the Titans, and that would be the one most people know about, where the Olympian gods fought the Titans and locked them in Tartarus. And the head Titan at that time was Cronus, who had taken over for his father. So I'm going to use that Fortnite figure that looks kind of like he's armored up and everything, as sort of like as Cronus, but it's going to be a mix of the Asgardian destroyer armor from the MCU, as well as elements of Cronus, elements from and elements of Apophis as well, who's the primary antagonist, not only from Stargate, for those of you who are
Thank
Stargate
you.
fans.
Thank you so much.
I'm never gonna forget Stargate. Great show and movie. Well, movie was okay. Show was amazing. So Apophis is the primary antagonist from the Kane Chronicles, which is the Egyptian series that Rick Riordan wrote. And so yeah, I'm gonna just try and come up with an idea to kind of mash those all together, kind of make this hybrid armor on this Fortnite figure, and we'll see how it comes out. I'm kind of excited about it. Jackson is a wonderful book series if you've got kids and you're listening to it, or you want something to read with them. It's a really good series. It's got really good lessons in it. It's got some action. It's got a little bit of like awkward teenage romance thing, but not like, we're not talking like Twilight series romance. It's like very, very light. So yeah, I'm You know, I think that's where I'm gonna go. That's what I've got. Other than that, I really don't plan on buying anything. I'm sure I'll end up getting something somewhere. But I really don't plan on getting really anything else until what's my next pre-order for Hasbro? It is the uh the cassette tapes for Soundwave for Siege Soundwave, where they're coming out with Rumble, Wing Thing, and the other two that they're coming out with, and I forget who they are. Um,
Oh, the ones for Double Dealer and Knock and Scar.
I don't know. Are those because I don't Double Dealer's not my thing.
Mm.
Like I looked at him, I was like, oh great, he looks like a box. And if I can't get that iconic G1 bird mode, I don't know that I'm gonna get him.
Okay, but here's another. Okay, this is another one of those nerd adjusting his glasses things.
Ooh,
In Master Force,
which
in
I
the
did not.
TV show Master Force,
Okay.
well, I guess he was technically Clouder there. His rocket was on the top of him, not in the more preferable Dick Bird
Listen,
formation.
goddamn hilarious.
Shout out to brother Kyle for Dick Bird.
Oh yes, big shout out to Brother Kyle.
Like I said, if I can't do Dick Bird, I don't know that I'm getting it just because Dick Bird is absolutely hilarious. Um, Double Dealer, he came along later. I don't was he ever actually released in the US?
Yes, he did have a U.S. release.
Yeah, I'm just he doesn't do anything for me. Like I've got the God, is it the classics or well the Chug version of Double Dealer, the
Oh,
one
you
that they
mean the
put
one
in
that was remolded from Blitzwing?
yeah, and has the horrible shoulders. Yep,
Ew.
that one.
Ew.
The worst shoulders.
Yeah.
I have that too.
It wasn't a great mold, but then again, I don't have a real affinity towards the character, so I'm like, okay, I've got a representation of that character on my shelf. I'm good. Um, there are just some characters that I care about more than others.
And
I would,
and he's pretty much the only G1 that I haven't sold off yet. And nor do I think I will, just because it's just it fits in with everything so well.
yeah, I don't. I'm not. I don't. G1 is a real weird kind of area for me. Like I
Mm.
can't sell off any of my G1, and the simple reason is they're all holdovers from when I was a kid. They're all crap. That being said, as much as I love G1 and respect people that do collect G1, I don't want to pay a premium or
Mm.
more than a premium in some cases for what is now a 35, almost 40-year-old toy that very well could break
Yeah.
very easily. I know I have had two G1 Metroplexes. They've both snapped at the waist. Um,
Okay,
I
but to be fair, don't we have the little one to thank for that?
The first one, yes. The second one, maybe. And he was younger, but I let him. I was like, "Here, go ahead, play with the old G1 toys." So he snapped the first one, and I was like, "Oh, that kind of stinks. Like, let me go out on eBay and buy a new one." So I
Mm-hmm.
went out on eBay and I got one probably for about $75, which, if you think about it, is probably pretty reasonable. But
Oh,
at the
that's good.
time,
I I I got mine complete with the instruction booklet and the missiles still attached to the tree for $60 shipped. So, you know,
yeah,
between 60 $70, that's, that is a sweet spot right there.
yeah, like I said, I was just it didn't once the second one went, I was like, it's not worth getting another one. And since then, I don't think I had a reissue of G1 Six Shot at one point. That again, probably about $75. But after that, I was just.
And he's the other one that I sold off my my G1 Six Shot, just because I didn't care enough, and frankly, I am. Aside from the size of the wings, I love the Titans Return one. I still wish somebody would make an add-on kit for that to make the wings larger, like the G1 was.
Mm-hmm.
But that one does everything for me that the G1 did, and with the added articulation, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean the Titans Return one was, or rather is, really really good.
As long as you get one with good knees.
Yes, that's, or know how to use nail polish.
I have the quick switch from that mold, and my knees are shit.
Yeah, my son. Well, I gave quick switch to my son because I bought that kit. And who did I buy that kit for? Who came in that one?
The clones. You probably got it for Fast Clash.
Yep.
And Nautica and the G2 Prime.
Yep. I got that for the Nautica and for the clones, and that was really why I bought both box sets. The second box set, which was actually, I believe, the one that was titled Siege, right?
Yeah, Siege on Cybertron.
Was the one that came with the
good
power. They didn't call him Optimus, the Jinrai though, the Jinrai base figure. What did they end up calling him? Like it wasn't Delta Magnus, it was something else.
Yeah, it was something like Ultra Optimus or
something. Yeah,
something like that. It was weird.
Yeah, but I got that one. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, the Six Shot that came with Titan's Return was all right. I will fully admit, earlier in my Transformer collecting, when I got back into it, I got into third party. So I have a number of third party figures that I love Hasbro greatly. I don't think they're ever gonna touch. And Hexatron was one of them. So
yeah. That's what my Six Shot is in my chug shelf. I never bought the Titans Return one.
Yeah.
And actually, I need to give a big thank you to Lance, because you, Lance, gave me the stock swords that came with Hexatron, which I now proudly display with my Drift and Cyclonus.
Wonderful.
Oh, nice.
I got the Butcher upgrade kit for mine. So the bigger swords and then the silvery head, because you know how you could take the head off a Hexatron, the helmet. It's got that helmet feature.
It's got that brain.
Random brain. But my understanding is that actually has some significance to. What was that? What was the Japanese Transformers series that had like one episode and they had the 9
Zone?
Yeah. So he was one of the 9 Decepticon generals, and when whoever it was that was the commander of the Autobots in that one, was that
Diatlas?
Was it Diatlas or was it
Star Saber?
Star Saber.
It might have been Star Saber.
Diatlas was in Zone.
Okay.
So Diatlas was in Zone. Okay.
Yeah. So before Diatlas takes over, because my understanding of that like one episode is that Diatlas takes over from Star Saber. So before that, Star Saber is cutting Decepticon generals in half, and for some reason they have human brains. Right. So we only had that one episode, so nobody really knows why they have human brains.
Gotta love the Japanese, man.
hey,
Right.
sometimes you have your super advanced robotic life form and throw a human brain in. Maybe they were really GoBots because it would make sense in that universe.
Hmm.
Bots in disguise.
Yep. Huh. All right, so Dustin, how about you? What's as far as toy purchases, acquisitions, news? What do you got?
Uh, not not a whole lot. I bought McFarlane Mortal Kombat Johnny Cage to go with my Storm
I
Collectibles.
saw that. So that looks great.
Yeah, no, I bought the Sub-Zero initially from his line, and I was like, I'm not buying another one of these. They're fucking garbage.
And it's
And
funny because that is the exact same. Like I've heard that across the board. Is that the initial wave that came out with Scorpion and Sub Zero, that they were just utter shit.
yeah, they were trash. And then I saw a review on Johnny Cage because I was like, I want Johnny for my shelf because he was one of my favorite characters to play. And I was like, I can't on principle because that Sub-Zero was so trash. And reviews are like, this is like it was made from a different company. And I was like, all right, $20, I'll check it out. And they were right. That Johnny figure is so good. Like, man, like
I'm
they
tempted.
knocked it out of the park with that thing.
I'm so tempted. And Johnny Cage has always been kind of like a sleeper favorite of mine, and
Right.
this is already kind of like this kind of branches almost into the Wrasslin portion a little bit. But back when I played Raw versus SmackDown 2006, um, Johnny Cage was one of the creative characters I made on that game.
All right.
And the fun thing about Johnny Cage is, if you've played Mortal Kombat over the years, you know his character. Like, he is a professional wrestling character. Like, he was so easy to evolve throughout the entire storyline play. It just felt so natural
Oh yeah.
with Johnny Cage. It was easy to update his look. It was easy to work him into that. I'm like, damn, I I'd make his finisher like a super kick,
Right.
shadow kick from Mortal Kombat. It was so easy to integrate him in. So I've always had an affinity for Cage.
Definitely. Give me about 30 seconds, man. I gotta run upstairs and get rid of some of this beer real quick. I'll be right back.
Gotcha. All right, so I guess I'll move into to my section here. It's been a fairly fruitful week for me, which is rare, but I love it. I want to give a massive shout out to another guy that's in the Breakfast Club chat, and who sold me this for a killer price. But from him, I got the Playmates Classic '84 Voltron.
Ooh.
Um, uh, he was looking at selling it and offered it to me for a few months ago at a great price. Couldn't I'm talking more like 6 months ago, and I couldn't do it at that point. And then 2 months ago, we were talking, and he was going to sell it, and I was like, well, he said that the original offer he gave it to me for was still valid, and unfortunately, in between when I paid for it and whatnot, he had some life stuff go on. So I he's doing well now, and I thank him. But so after I paid for it, 2 months later, it's here now, and I'll tell you, this thing is impressive. Really impressive. Since it came out, the Soul Chigoken release came out too, and yeah, maybe that one has some better articulation and is maybe a little prettier. But I'll tell you what, this thing is 16 inches tall and just has imposing shelf presence. Um, Not to mention, you have all the clips from it. It has the exact same features that the Legendary Defender has. So they re-recorded clips, so it's not like just ones from the original '80s show. But every limb that you plug into the Black Lion makes a sound and whatnot, and it's a ton of fun. Not to mention they did some improvements. So like this one has head articulation, which the Legendary Defender did not have. Um, it's just all around fun, and
Nice.
and not to mention it has like shoulder release buttons, so you
Ooh,
can
that's always
actually separate him easily. Whereas I have pretty much destroyed my Red Lion on my Legendary Defender, trying to, you know, unplug it and get it into its lion mode again.
isn't there like a trick to do it where it comes out super easily where like you have to like rotate the shoulder joint and then basically use the leverage to pop it out?
That's what they say. And let me tell you, it's not as easy as they make it seem. Even Playmates Actual put out a YouTube video
Yep.
showing how to do this. It is not as easy as they make it seem. Um, it is my one gripe with that set. Um, Other than that, it's fantastic.
Should,
But that
should I
whole
shame you by telling you that my child has zero problems with it?
it's as far as putting it together, taking it apart.
Yeah.
Okay, and you know what? Another thing that I've heard from that set is the more you do it, the easier it kind of wears down the connections a
Yeah.
little bit, so it makes it easier to pull apart. And that I believe wholeheartedly.
Yeah. And that's probably what's happened with his because I mean, you know him and he's always got something that he's playing with.
Yeah,
That Voltron. His new thing is you've seen the AT-AT that he got,
I
right?
have. Yeah,
And he's that's still his like go-to even with Triptychon and Fort Max. And then he saw Scorponok. I showed him Scorponok. He's like, Dad, you're getting me one for Christmas, right? And I'm like, I don't even have one yet. Calm down. Like, stop spending my money before I spend my money. You know?
uh,
Yeah, we're super excited about that, but that's for another episode, I think. Um, but yeah, so what else? I know you got at least one and or six other things, depending on how you view them.
I, you know what? I like to look at it as six other things because it makes the cost even. You spread that out. It makes it even more justifiable and even better.
That's
Um,
fair.
so I added a Devastator to my collection, and more specifically, the Transformers Club TFC um, Hercules. And to those in the know listening to this podcast, that figure set came out in 2011. It was probably the most exciting news in the Transformers fandom that year.
That's a fact.
And everyone was so excited. We learned we were getting this Devastator that Hasbro gave us the classics one in 2006, which was just a really bad green recoloring of the Energon one, and just
But it worked for its time.
it worked for its time. It did.
But it was garbage.
It was and is to this day garbage. So 2011, we got the news that this third-party company, and refresh my memory or not, in 2011, So by that time, we had already had City Commander, right? Because that
Yeah.
was
Yes.
City Commander was around 2009.
We had City Commander. We had the Protector armor. This was really the first foray by any company into standalone figures
Yeah.
that were also combiners.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the first foray into individual combiners. I think right before TFC had made their announcement, Fans Project had released Defender, which was their Springer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so we had at least one standalone individual figure to come out from a company, which don't get me. I laugh at that now because I paid $115 for that figure. I challenge anyone right now to go look that figure up on eBay and see what it's worth.
Oh, it's like $25.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if someone gets $30 for that now, they're doing well.
Yeah, like, I remember back in the day when it came out, and I was like, "There's no fucking way I'm paying that much money for a toy."
Yep.
Look at me now, but
And
that's
I,
not the
of
You and
course,
I had very different perspectives. So I was like, oh, it's that much? All right. Here
yeah,
you go.
yep. And I of course wanted it right after like the initial run had come out, and it seemed like Fans Project was not going to do any more, and they were moving on to the next project. And
Right.
I was like, oh man, I have to get this any way possible. And somebody was selling it for like 115, which was cheap at the time. Like 115 was a bargain at the time.
Right.
I don't
And
remember paying that much for it. How much was it when when it first came out? It was probably what, mid 70s?
yeah, about
If
75, I
if
think.
you bought it straight through the pre-order, which
Exactly, yeah. It was
which
like
is just what
75.
I did.
Yeah. It was like 75 through the pre-order, and then it just, you know, everyone started doing reviews, started getting glowing reviews. I fondly remember Vangelis's review and him talking about that one feature he loved where you can actually have that figure grab and unholster its sidearms from
Yeah.
its holsters, all in one fluid motion. It's like, oh man, that's cool. That's so cool. And that's when I got it. But we're getting way off track here. So we go back to TFC. They announce Hercules is coming out. Their Devastator. Everyone's already salivating over this thing, and then they announce the price.
Yeah.
And each now, while they said they're going to release it in 3 waves, 2 figures per wave, it's going to be $100 per figure.
Yep.
At that point, I mean, when I first heard the news, I was like, all right, if it's $50 a figure, I'm in. That means it's $300 for the combiner. I can probably swing that. And now we have it at $600 for the combiner. I was out. I was done.
Yeah, but it was
Even
$600 over like 6 or 9 month period, because
yeah, about a
I
9 month
remember when
period.
it started coming out. The first set came out in spring because they did it quarterly, right? So the set came out in second quarter. The second set came out in third quarter, and then the last set came out early fourth quarter. So
Yeah,
they did it. They spread it out over like a 9 month period. So as long as you could budget and save up for it, not saying that's exactly what I did, but
yeah,
that's exactly what I did.
yeah,
You know, you could swing it for 600, but that was, I think that was really the start of third party companies really starting to pop up and b blow up in terms of just willing to shell out $100 plus per figure.
Yeah.
And I remember that summer, and then I remember everything after that because I went on a third-party combiner figure run before Hasbro was like, "Oh, hey, it's been like 6, 7 years since that happened. Now we're gonna do Combiner Wars."
Yeah.
Which I wish Hasbro had done sooner because that would have saved me a lot of money, but it didn't happen like that.
So, and that is another reason why I've wanted this figure for so long, is because it really has a historical significance in the fandom.
Yep.
As being the very first third-party combiner to come out. So here we are, 9 years later, after that came out. I was able to get the second run of the combiner of the second run of Hercules, which had some fixed issues that the first one had, and the add-on kit that TFC did in house.
Yep, right.
Which is another thing I'll get into here in just a moment. The add-on kit. So far, I've only spent about 145 for the entire thing. I plan on getting one more add-on kit for it, which is another headset, which looks amazing. And I'll talk about that more when I get it. But going back to the add-on kits, that is one thing that irked me a lot about TFC at the time. Is that so? They came out with Devastator, they came out with Superion, but then they came out with their own add-on kits. Usually you see other companies coming out with kits to help figures. Here TFC was like, okay, so we know our figures aren't up to everyone's snuff or everyone's aesthetic, so we're gonna put out our own kit for it. Maybe if they had integrated these kits in some of the releases of the figures, so after buying them all, then you'd have options. I don't know. At the time, that just irked me a little bit.
I don't know that it irked me as much as I really enjoyed them. I know that TFC, if you look at what they did, they were basically like, all right, we're going to give you our take. And like Hercules, when it was originally out, it was based on the IDW Devastator.
Yeah.
And if you were looking for an IDW Devastator, it's a great figure.
It is. Yeah.
And I think they did basically give you the option. And remember, this is at the time, like you said, this was the very first one to have come out, right? So they didn't really know where it was going to go.
Exactly.
They had a hope. And I think it probably surpassed their expectations. And then some people were like, yeah, but we could make it a little bit different if you tweaked these things. And they said, okay, well, now here you go. We're going to give you the option if you want to tweak these things. And I think that's what they did with the Rage kit. I know TFC Uranus, the Superion, gets a lot of flack for having Power Glide as the chest piece. I don't understand. Like, it doesn't look great, but at the same time, Hasbro, 5 years later, comes out with their version of Superion, and oh, look, Power Glide is a target master. Like, I think it was a good idea for them to try to incorporate Power Glide.
Yeah.
because I mean it's just not. He's a figure that's good, but he doesn't really have a purpose other than being a mini bot. That's the thing. He's a mini bot. Um, so I like them actually giving purpose to a character that otherwise really have that much of a purpose.
Mm.
All right, I'm off my soapbox.
No, you're right. So yeah, I have that figure now in my collection. Uh, like I said, it's more fun to say that I added 6 new figures to my collection instead of the one. So that way, essentially, I only paid about $100 per. I mean, $20 per Constructicon, because it was 120 shipped for that, and then another 20 for the 2025 for the add-on. But that's what I'm most excited about right now. Now, of course, the one that I got in had a couple issues here and there, some plastic flashing and whatnot, extra plastic from the molding that I had to trim off, and it's getting better. And I need to get some RC shock oil to help with some of the joints, to make sure they aren't fused together forever. But overall, I am excited to have that. Like I said, it's kind of a historical piece for the Transformers fandom in my collection.
I'm sorry, a cold chill just ran down my spine. I heard the Undertaker's bell.
That was that's my email notification.
Nice.
No, Nate, I completely agree with you, and I would also add about that figure because, as you know, Nate, I'm a huge fan of that figure.
Mm.
That to this day is still, if you're into collecting, the Chug, the main line, I would argue that to this day that is the best Devastator in terms of scaling with Chug. I know the Combiner Wars Devastator is great. It's huge. I think Combiner Wars Devastator is kind of too big.
Yeah. That's why I got rid of it, because it scales better with Masterpiece than it does Chug.
I perfectly agree with you. I think the same thing is true about the Titan class Predaking. Right? I think Titan class Predaking doesn't really scale with Chug at all.
That's why I bought one.
Yeah, I again, there's a reason that he's not in my collection, but I think that to this, like I said, to this day, if there's any third party figure that just absolutely 110% has withstood the test of time, I think it's that TFC Hercules.
Yeah.
There's only one figure that I can think of that I would say is probably better, and that would be the MMC's Overlord. I forget what they called him.
Carnifex,
yeah. But I think that's only because MMC is what MMC does, or Mastermind Creations, how they position things, how they make things quality wise. I think they're just a level that I don't think can be duplicated very easily, at least when they were at their height. I don't know about a lot of their stuff.
MMC was a masterpiece for the Chug collector.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Precisely.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. That's exactly what it is, which is probably why I love it so much.
And actually, while we're glazing over Power of the Prime's Predaking, big thank you and shout out to Dustin, because he traded me the one Prime Master that I needed to complete my circle from that damn thing they decided to make an exclusive in that set.
Yes, The
Onyx Prime.
Onyx Primal, or Onyx Prime. Yeah, I still haven't gotten one of those, and I'm kind of okay with that because I mean I didn't want to have to pay $160. So there's now 3 figures that I can think of that they've taken a similar course of action with. So one is the Onyx Prime, right? Mm-hmm. The only way you could get Onyx Prime when they did Power of the Primes is if you got Predaking. He didn't get an individual release, which kind of was unfortunate because now I've got that hole in my. I'll live. I probably won't notice it, but like in the back of my mind, I'm always going to know it's there. The other 2 figures that they did that with are actually more recent, right? You have Skywarp from Siege when they did in the Tetrajet mode, and he came with, I want to say it was Hair Splitter, who is the second target master for Spinister. Because of course he was a double target master. He came with Hair Splitter and Singe. Singe got an individual retail release. Hair Splitter you only got if you paid the $50 for Skywarp.
Well, I thought the ones with Skywarp were the other target master that's supposed to go with Spinister, which is like because Singe and Hair Splitter I thought were like the 2 target masters that are supposed to go with what's Spinister, and then Fracas, which is supposed to go with Scourge, right?
So Fracas, right. That's the other one. I wasn't as worried about Fracas because when Japan came out with their Arms Micron series and they had a version of Fracas there, I bought that, and that was like $45 at the time. So on my Scourge that I use, or on my sweep that I use as Scourge, I gave him that Fracas, and he just kind of bends his knees, hooks his arms onto his elbow, and boom, you've got a missile pod. But you're right, they did the same thing there with Fracas. So Skywarp came with Fracas and Hair Splitter. So if you had one of the previous versions of Scourge, I think Titan's Return was the last Scourge. If you had him and wanted his target master, and if you wanted to complete the target master for Spinister, you had to buy that Skywarp. And then again, like I said, they're doing the same thing. So the third time that they're doing it is with the Netflix Megatron.
Yeah.
Netflix Megatron comes with Pinpointer, who is the target master for Crosshairs, who was released in Siege. And I'm going to assume that because they're doing that, we're not going to get an individual Pinpointer, which sucks. Because I was really looking forward to. So firstly, I think the Battle Masters that they've come out with are great. I love them. I understand they're basically the same guy over and over and over again. I'm cool with that. It's a good guy. Do they look a little large with deluxes? Sure, but again, I'm cool with that. I like the figures. But now that this is the third time that they've done it with Pinpointer, and it's kind of becoming like a little pattern with them, where if you really want this one obscure figure, well, we don't think this one obscure figure is going to sell really well. So instead of like holding off for a couple of years, we're going to give it to you now, but you're going to have to pay a premium for it. And in the case of Megatron, like that's going to be the 5th version of the exact same Megatron that they've offered us. It's not even like it's the Seekers where it's different colored and different character. It's the same character just in the fifth different paint job, because you had the Siege, then you had the Walmart exclusive animation color one, then you had the Combat Hero Megatron. Now we're getting the Earthrise Megatron, which is the same as the first two Megatrons, just with no battle damage and a weird nose cone thing. And then we're going to get the Netflix Megatron, and all five of them are the exact same toy.
Yeah.
And that, that's kind of irking me a bit.
Yeah. Luckily, I was able to cut myself off at 2 with just the Siege and the 30th anniversary one.
Well, I ended up with 3, right?
Yeah, because you got the G2.
Yeah, I got the Combat Hero G2 one. Then I got the Siege one, and that I gave to my son. And I got the animation color one just because it was just so good. So good.
Yeah, and I actually got another one of those 30th anniversary ones from the Hardcore Collectors Secret Santa right now. So I have another one of those just upstairs, just sitting pretty in his box, and I think he's just gonna stay there just because I love the side art on the box. I love all that. It's just so nice looking. It's a better presentation than Prime, I think, because like I said, Megatron has his own unique box art that the Prime one doesn't have.
I honestly didn't even look at the box art, but yeah, I would agree. I think both of those two figures are probably the only thing that I would like them to do, and I would probably spend the money on it again if they did, was if they were to take the Earthrise Glass Prime and do it in that cell shading color that they did for that Walmart exclusive Prime.
Oh, yeah, that would I would not be able to pass that up.
Yeah.
All right, so I guess we can move into our third leg of the cast now.
Sure.
All right. This is where, and as we were talking about earlier, the event that shall not be named, the situation that shall not be named, the happening, has really had a pretty big effect. There has been, because of, well, the fact is we're not getting monetized yet, so we probably could say the name. But professional wrestling has definitely taken a hit because of all this. So who wants to start?
I'll start because I've been, it's one of those things I watch pretty much everything. So
you get going. I'm gonna take a pee break.
Fantastic. That's not quite information I needed, but I appreciate it.
But I think we're putting this on the internet, and I think the world needed to know.
The world needed to know that you needed to pee.
Yes.
I mean, there are probably some people out there that might want that video, but let's, in the future, before we start,
that's definitely a different topic for a different day.
That's when we start our OnlyFans accounts instead of, right?
Yep. Right. We take videos during the pee breaks.
Right.
Live pee break videos. Fantastic.
Yep.
Oh God. Oh. Anyway, so getting back to the topic at hand, if we're talking about the effect that this has had that the happenings had on wrestling, I think you started to get an idea of it when WWE announced that that NXT was going to be at the Performance Center. I think that was already in the plans to have it at the WWE Performance Center instead of at its regular venue in Full Sail University. You kind of got a taste. And then I think you had NXT run at its regular venue. You had AEW end up, I believe, if I remember correctly, they ran at their regular venue last week, but starting next week, they're transitioning everything to Jacksonville, Florida,
Yeah.
and a venue in Jacksonville. But I think the biggest thing is Friday Night SmackDown live from the WWE Performance Center. They canceled wherever they were going to be. They moved it to the Performance Center. They did not have a crowd, and they had a skeleton crew. They had a skeleton crew to the point where you literally had, you know, a I don't want to say, it was more of a makeshift announce team. You had, instead of Michael Cole and Corey Graves, it was Michael Cole and Triple H. You had a reduced number of superstars there, and you could just tell by what was happening that it was a reduced number of superstars, because in the very middle of that show you ended up getting a replay of the men's tag team championship elimination chamber match from Sunday. And it was very, very, very surreal. And you can see that reflected in some of the wrestlers, because they're so used to doing certain things. So, like playing to the crowd. And they would come out and they would start and they would play to the crowd. And you had Triple H, who, during his commentary, it was wonderful. He destroyed all the fourth wall. He would basically call them out, because he was technically supposed to be the quote unquote heel color guy, but he would call them out for playing to a crowd that's not even there. He's like, "You're wasting time. There's no crowd. Why are you motioning towards the audience, or doing whatever you're doing?" He also addressed some of the rumors as well about him being quote unquote demoted. Um, and that was fun as hell. He was just taking shots at everybody and kind of channeling kind of like that old Triple H and DX vibe. But to watch everything, and you could hear everything. SmackDown Live was literally like watching 205 Live, where there's no crowd reaction to anything, and it was just dead silent except for the superstars in the ring. You could hear them calling stuff. You could hear them talking to each other. You could hear them jaw jacking at each other. Kind of like if you watch the Mixed Match Challenge the last couple of years. Instead of using all of the house mics that they usually use, they used a lot of the mics closer to the ring to get the superstars when they're, talking shit to each other and whatnot.
Hey, I'm old.
You're not that old.
No, the Goldust line.
Oh, yes. Yes, that was classic.
That was
Him and whoever's married to Naomi. Is it Jimmy or Jay?
One of the two.
That was such a good line, just in the middle of the match. But again, it was similar, but they were the superstars were operating like they were in a big regular venue. It wasn't that Gold Dust creative, "Hey, I know the mics are on me and they can hear what we're saying, so we're going to do something a little bit different." They were doing the same things that they would normally do in an empty stadium. And, I give them all the credit in the world for going out there and doing what they did, because, Vince could have very easily said, "We're just canceling this show entirely, rerun something else." But at the same time, he's the ultimate show goes on kind of guy, right? So he would never, ever, ever do that. And I give the credit to the superstars for going out there and performing, because it was a pretty good episode of SmackDown. It wasn't great. It definitely had a very, very different feel. But once you got past that different feel, like, they put on a really good show. And I think it's, similar to what they did after September 11th, where, they paid tribute to what was going on. They acknowledged what was going on and what was happening, and they
And
fully
then Raw
acknowledged,
went
hey,
on as general, yes, as usual.
exactly. They were like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, but you know what? We're going to try and provide a sense of normalcy to you, and this is why we're doing it. And the show goes on. So I think it was a really good episode. But you definitely got this very, very weird vibe as you watched it. And I think that as the happening continues, the next things that we have to worry about, the big thing right now, is WrestleMania. Because WrestleMania isn't just that one show, especially if you look at it from the WWE perspective, right? It's they get there on Friday for SmackDown, so they've got Friday SmackDown, Saturday NXT Takeover,
Yeah.
Sunday you've got WrestleMania, Monday you have the Raw after WrestleMania, which a lot of the fans are there for. And the big things with that is a lot of the fans are international fans. And now with the current travel ban on, until things calm down, WrestleMania is 3 weeks away at this point.
Mm.
So the travel ban is going to have an impact as to who can go and how many people show up, if they are even allowed to have it at all. Right now, the governor, last thing I saw, the governor of Florida was like, no, absolutely not. But the mayor of Tampa Bay was like, oh yeah, no, we'll wait and we'll see what's happening. I'm not canceling it. I'm not forcing anybody to cancel anything right away.
It's really important for them to actually go through it with having WrestleMania.
Yeah.
In the same way that it was important for them to have SmackDown after 9/11.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And
that brought so much hope back to people. Like they have to do this. Like, man, like they could boost the economy and the stock market back up by going, look, it's not the end of the world. let's bring all these people out. Let's have fun. Like, it's 3 weeks away. If people go under quarantine for this 2 weeks or whatever, it should be somewhat back to normalcy anyway. But for them to have the second time to have the first mass gathering after a huge event would be historical again. It would help everyone, not just wrestling fans.
we're already looking at a situation where all of the other major sports that maybe aren't scripted dramas, NHL, NFL, NBA, everybody's NCAA, everybody's delaying everything. Additionally, if you look at what WrestleMania brings to an area, it's not just WWE Access and all the WWE shows. It's all of the independent promotions that schedule their biggest events around the same time in similar places. So those right now are all getting canceled. So a lot of the independent wrestlers are just losing money at this point because they don't have a way to show up to make money. Because the probably the most well-known example is going to be the Bullet Club Beach Party, right? Hosted by Tama Tonga and the Bullet Club for New Japan Pro Wrestling. The Bullet Club Beach Party has been canceled, and that was on April 4th. They don't have the clout that WWE does because WWE is the biggest fish. But when you look at what WWE brings to the area, WWE is just not bringing just WWE. They're bringing WWE and all of the independent promotions. Ring of Honor is going to be there. New Japan's going to be there. I'm pretty sure who is it? AEW has a pay-per-view the weekend before, I believe, and I think that's in Jacksonville, or was scheduled to be in Jacksonville potentially. I'd have to double check, but it's again, it's one of those things where it doesn't just that event has so much more to do with the economy and people and international travel and stuff like that, that where we're really gonna see the effect is at WrestleMania. They, if they go on and they say, yeah, you can have the stadium, but you can't have any people there, then that means WrestleMania. Picture WrestleMania going down in a stadium with a seating capacity of over 80,000 people and it being empty. That's eerie. Like, if you just go back and watch SmackDown, it's an eerie feeling. But think about that at WrestleMania, literally the biggest wrestling event in the world, and like that's mind-blowing, staggering. So I think we'll see what ends up happening with the happening. But man, it's very a very surreal time in general. Just how, with the precautions everybody's are taking, in terms of what's going down with these venues with mass gatherings and stuff like that. And I think, again, the biggest impact that you really see, rather than, oh, hey, there are no crowds at SmackDown Live and it's in the Performance Center, I think really the biggest impact that you're going to see is actually on the independent promotions and the independent wrestlers, because they've got almost zero recourse because they don't have the lawyers. I mean, I can't imagine that Ring of Honor is going to lawyer up and just be like, you're going to let us have Supercard of Honor in wherever we were planning on having it, probably within a half an hour of Tampa. Ring of Honor doesn't have that kind of money. They don't. They just don't. TNA is not going to do it. They've mainly gone online with TNA Power.
You mean NWA?
NWA. There we go. Sorry. Well, NWA used to be TNA, right?
Yeah, I mean those two split a while back, but yeah. So I mean now it's just Impact is now just its own thing, that's actually one more thing that I wanted to bring up during this whole wrestling segment is NWA. So Dustin, since you're doing most of your wrestling watching through YouTube, have you checked out any episodes of NWA Power?
I've watched very little, and that show seemed boring.
Well, it's what, I get exactly where you're coming from, because it is without a doubt an old school territorial promotion type feel to it, which is what they're going for.
Yeah.
And okay. Maybe if I watched it more, I would get a little more invested in the characters and it wouldn't be boring. But I kind of jumped in the middle somewhere and I was like, I don't know anything what's going on here. So this is kind of hard to watch.
It being filmed in a TV studio, it definitely has it's without a doubt a smaller feel. But they do have some seriously good talent there. I mean, the main champ there right now, Nick Aldis, he's fun to watch. They've had Scott Steiner there for a little bit doing his thing. There's some talent there that's worth watching. I checked out an episode about a week ago, and I was like, this is actually, for someone who loves professional wrestling and wants to consume as much content as they can, this is a wonderful outlet. Not to mention, what I didn't realize is that NWA is now owned by Billy Corgan.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Smashing Pumpkins, Billy Corgan.
Yep.
Well, he had his hand in TNA for a little bit too.
A little bit, yeah. And I know Lance and I watch his stuff more than Lance does, but I watch almost every single Chris Van Vliet interview on YouTube, and I've learned a ton with him doing NWA interviews and stuff like that.
Van Vliet's just an awesome interviewer. He's got his. It's impressive that he moves around as much as he does, and also at the same time is able to keep his finger on the pulse of everything that's going on.
Yeah,
Uh, he's just incredible in his ability to do that. So I too I've been catching up with a lot of that stuff. But yeah, he's something else, man. He is absolutely 110% something else. And he is enjoyable to watch, and he just gets such great information.
especially his few most recent episodes have been especially entertaining because he filmed at the Flatbacks Wrestling School, which is the
Yeah,
wrestling school of Sean Spears and what's his name, Tyler Breeze. Um, and I'll tell you what, that was fun. And then because it was, he did 3 videos for the course of him being there. One with Tyler, one with Sean, and then the third one was especially entertaining because he took 2 chops from
20.
every one of every person in the wrestling class there,
He ended
and
up taking 20 chops. And that includes Breeze and Spears.
Spears, yeah. Oh
Come
man,
on,
his
Peter.
his chest looked like ground Hamburg after it was that it was it was something else to watch.
It was fun though. It was
Oh,
like you
definitely fun.
said, he's got this ability to make these interviews informative and entertaining. And he's just a joy to watch just in general because he is such a fan. I think the only other interviewer that I know of that would come close to his level is um, Alicia Toot, and I did use the Canadian pronouncing on the Canadian pronunciation. All messed up at this point. Um,
Pronunciation.
pronunciation. There we go. I got it. Third time's the charm, right?
Hmm.
Help from a friend. But yeah, his stuff has just been absolutely incredible in general, and just really really fun to watch.
Yeah. So one other thing that I want to bring up during this whole wrestling segment, something maybe that Lance, you and I will care about, since he's more popular with this area, is that it is 100% official. The former tight end of the New England Patriots, Rob Gronkowski, has officially signed with the WWE.
I don't think he's officially signed yet because I believe he was supposed to do it on SmackDown. And SmackDown definitely had a segment with everybody's favorite, Rob Gronkowski's best friend,
Mojo
Mojo.
Rawley.
And he said that Gronk 100% intends to do it, but he couldn't do it because he couldn't be there because of coronavirus. And also, they announced that Paige had an announcement for Friday that had been delayed as well because Paige
Yeah.
was able to be there for SmackDown. So I'm wondering if not only are we going to get a Rob Gronkowski in the WWE, and I massively look forward to his uh, the conclusion of his rivalry with one former WWE champion, Jinder Mahal.
Yeah, you know what? That's the dark time I like to forget about.
You absolutely look forward to the conclusion of that rivalry.
Oh, I look for the conclusion. No, it's the Jinder Mahal title run that I like to forget.
It was not stellar.
That's putting it in the most
poor.
PC way possible.
Yeah.
I try not to put it. I'm sure we'll go there at some point, but I don't blame the performer entirely for that. I just
No, that was and you're right. You're right. That is a conversation for another day because there's a whole tangent we could get into with that title run and why it didn't succeed like it should have.
I don't know if I ever expected it to succeed, just not be as bad. I know who is it? It is Wrestle Talk started a new sub channel called Parts Fun Known, and their main star on Parts Fun Known is a returning to YouTube Adam Blampier. And
he's coming back finally.
he's not coming back. He is back.
Oh wow!
So he is back. He's on Wrestle Talk. He started to pick up his series where he would say how he books things.
Nice.
And actually, this week's episode was exactly what we were just talking about. It was the Jinder Mahal title run. So if you get a chance, it's, of course, highly entertaining. He, oddly enough, has the exact bottle of Jim Beam that I purchased as he goes through it, because the way he starts out the video, he's like, "This is what we're going to talk about," and then he opens the bottle and he pours the glass, and then you see him look at the glass in the bottle and he starts chugging out of the bottle because we all feel the same way about that Jinder Mahal title run.
Yep.
But yeah, so I'm excited to see that. Like I said, they were planning on having Paige on, so part of me is wondering if because Edge is back, and we know that Edge, Stone Cold, and Paige all had the same neck issue. If Edge is back, does that mean Paige is going to be able to go out the way that she wants to go out? Because I truly believe Edge is doing these last couple of matches. He did the Royal Rumble match, and then he's gonna lose at WrestleMania because that's gonna be his retirement match, and this is the way that he now wants to go out. And I think that because they let Edge do it, and again, Edge and Paige went out with the same injury, I think they're going to let Paige do it as well. So that's kind of my feeling as to why they were like, Paige is going to have an announcement on her career on SmackDown.
Yeah. And I would, while I think you're right, Edge's promo that first night, after the Royal Rumble, he came back, gave me a little hope. He said something to the extent of he wants to do this for as long as he can. I'm choosing to be hopeful in that it's not just one more match, that maybe we'll see something something interesting out of it again. Maybe one more stint with the Rated R Superstars champion. That's what I would absolutely love. I'm not counting on that whatsoever. But you know what? Because I'm such a fan, even if it's just one match that I get, I'll take it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably where most of us are.
Mm.
Edge is so iconic. He was such a great heel. He was such a great performer in general, and Paige really was as well.
Mm.
Paige was, I think, AJ Lee. So I think it's when you start talking about the women's revolution and the hashtag Give Divas a Chance. I don't think that was started as much for the as it was for AJ Lee.
Mm.
Right? AJ Lee, kind of like Mickey James back in the day, was somebody who came up through the independents, and she was a wrestler. And she came into the tail end of that kind of Divas period, and of course, we know what happened with her in WWE and Punk.
Mm.
And that kind of is what it is. But I think that what the next person to come along, who again was a wrestler and started this movement or helped to start this movement, was Paige. That was kind of your 1-2 punch. Paige came out of FCW and the Performance Center.
Mm.
And I think that was really the 1-2 punch, and they knew they had, because at the time Paige came up, they still had Charlotte, Becky, Sasha, and Bailey down in the PC getting ready to come up. So I think, a lot gets lost with the superstars that were in place at the time when that whole Give Divas a Chance momentum got started. And I really think it was started more by AJ Lee, who, I mean, she was the best wrestler that female wrestler that WWE had, not taking anything away from Natalya, who was there at the same time, and probably has more training than any of them, and has forgotten more about wrestling than most people will ever know. But I think that you saw as that new talent came in, it was AJ Lee. Then they brought in Paige, and then it was wrestling's forward. Like, you would start to see that tide kind of change, and for somebody who was as important to that movement as she is, because her and AJ, I think, really were like, okay, we're not going to have a women's wrestling match. We're just going to go out and have
a wrestling match.
I think that's really where the importance of them historically come in. So I would love to see Paige kind of get what Edge is getting and kind of get that closure to her story so that she can go out the way that she wants to go out.
Mm. I think that's, yeah. I think you're pretty dead on there. All right. Dustin, anything you want to add to all this wrestling stuff?
I don't know. I mean, I watched my AEW Dark for the week. It was all right. The Jurassic Express is probably one of my new favorite tag teams ever.
I love them so much. I really do.
Dude, Luchasaurus is ridiculous.
He is.
Somebody who's 65 million years old, he has incredible agility.
Facts.
and I simply love Jungle Boy just because I was a huge Luke Perry fan, and it's just so heartbreaking that situation, especially knowing that his dad was supposed to be in the crowd at a few shows, and I think he's so talented. Jake is so talented, and he's killing it.
Yeah, dude, I thoroughly enjoyed that match. Was probably the highlight out of this last week's dark. And that and Abaddon, and I can't remember her opponent's name, but that was pretty decent. Although she looked like a reject from Antichrist Superstar.
Uh,
But it was all right. It was pretty good. It was good.
all right. All right, guys. I think that about wraps it up for the week.
Indeed.
All
Sounds good
right.
to me.
So with that, Nate, Dustin, and Lance, thank you guys for joining us again. We'll be uploading every Monday, so please come back if you like what you hear. Right now, I'm posting this on my personal YouTube channel, so I'd appreciate if you'd give the videos a like, maybe a subscription. Just let us know what you like, what you don't like, what we can fix. We're open to criticism here, um, and we will talk to you guys next week. Have a good one, everybody.